How's it going, YouTube? How's everybody doing? This is Reach. This is Frank Reacher coming at you once again. Um, I hope everybody's doing good. Um, so I'm here today. Today is basically just like an encouragement. I want to share something with all of you. Um, it's uh, it's pretty cool. I want to share this with you. So uh, today today what happened was that we were at uh, my in-laws house, my suegro's house. And we go over there once in a while. We clean up, they have some chickens, and we feed the dogs and we feed the chickens, and we hang out for a little bit at my suegra's, at my in-laws. uh, but what happened was that one of my boys, he got the keys, but he left them inside the house on top of the table. So when he left the keys on top of the table, he went out and he closed the door and he locked it, not realizing that he left the keys on the table. So some time passed, and we were getting ready to leave, and where are the keys? Nobody knew where the keys were. I remembered, and I said, "Oh man, they're on top of the table, they're inside the house." So now we got this mission. How are we going to get the keys? How are we going to get back in? Well, how are we going to get into the house to get the keys? Excuse me. So yeah, there, we started trying to figure it out. And it's crazy because just 2 weeks before, I went through the whole house. I was checking the windows, because when they're not there, the house is by itself. And just making sure the security, the cameras, and all that good stuff that they're on. So 2 weeks ago, I went through the whole house. I checked all the windows, making sure that everything was locked, that make sure that nobody can break in, things like that. And I did that 2 weeks ago. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking like, man, like I just literally checked the whole house. There's no way that we can get in there because I know for a fact that everything's locked, that everything is secure. So this is a two-story house. Me and my oldest son, we got a ladder, and we climbed up to the second story, and we're walking around the house. We're checking the windows, and sure enough, I found a weak window that I thought that was secure from the inside. But what happened was that when I pushed the window in a little bit, it unlocked. And we found a way in, got the keys, open it. So but it's cool because that led me to want to share this. And it has to do with our life. It has to do with how well are our lives protected from those things that can harm us, from those things that can come into our life and make a mess, and destroy some of our blessings, or disrupt our marriages, disrupt our families. How well are we protecting ourselves from the dangers of society, or the dangers that exist in the world? So it I started thinking, and I started making some notes, and that's why I wanted to share this with you today. So uh, it's very important that we protect our lives from weaknesses that could lead to harm or disruption. So we do have to pay attention. We have to have that willingness. We have to have that willingness to stay anchored in our values. What does that mean? It means that, you know, if you value your faith, if you value your family, if you value your marriage, whatever it is that you value in your life, you have to be willing to take care of it. You have to be willing to pay attention to it. You have to be willing to deal with things, because if not, just when you think that you're doing the right thing, or just when you think that your life's protected and everything's fine, there might be a little crack. There might be a little, weak spot, a blind spot somewhere in your life where something can creep in, something can break into your life and disrupt it and destroy or just chaos or drama, problems, things that can occur. So, um, yeah, so we have to stay anchored. We have to focus on the things that we value. So I came up with three essential areas to watch when life starts feeling shaky or out of control. Remember, big problems in life, they all had a beginning. Keep that in mind. Think about this. Sometimes when we're faced with big challenges, and I'm thinking right now when I was addicted, when I was an alcoholic, I remember that I didn't become an alcoholic from one day to the next. You know, it took those little things, those little times when I would give myself excuses and say, oh, I'm only gonna drink on the weekends. And next thing you know, it's a Monday, it's a Tuesday, and I'm drinking again. And it was just a hard day at work, or you know, those little things where we start making excuses for the things that we know we shouldn't be doing, and we even our conscience is telling us like, hey man, what you're doing is not right. And so what do? We hush. We tell our conscience to be quiet because we don't want to hear it. So one of the things that we have to pay attention to is not to neglect our core values. Drifting from our values, it compromises our beliefs. So, for example, if you say to yourself, you know what, my marriage is very important to me, uh, and if it's very important to you, then you have to make sure that it's so valuable to you that you're not gonna allow other influences to mess with your marriage. I hope that makes sense. And like I said, if marriage is valuable to you, and let's say something comes along the way and you think you're solid and you think you're standing strong, but next thing you know, you're looking at things on your phone, or you're talking to someone that you're not supposed to be talking to, or you're flirting, or whatever the case may be. When you start compromising your beliefs, you start create cracks in your foundation. You start to make room. You start to allow these little things to go in slowly but surely, and next thing you know, they're out of control. Next thing you know, because you compromised, because you said okay to certain things that you were supposed to be doing, things that you shouldn't have been, uh, you know, giving second thoughts to, So, um, the number one thing again is, and going back to the story of the house, how I found that little window that I was able to open. Again, I thought that I had already secured the whole house, and that's the same thing with our lives. We think we're fine, but we start making time, we start making room, we start making excuses because we compromise our values, because we say, this won't hurt, or it's just going to be a little bit, or whatever the case may be. So again, the number one thing for us to do is not to neglect our core values. We have to make it a priority to regularly check our decisions. If we start making decisions that go against our values, that's a big red flag. If we start saying, well, it's not that bad, um, so if we start justifying their actions and saying, it's not a big deal, again, what are we doing? We're compromising our values and we're going against what we truly care for. So we have to stay rooted in what we believe. What you believe, what you hold valuable in your heart, in your life, you have to protect it by all means. And it takes willingness. We have to do that every single day. Why? because every single day there's going to be things that are they're going to want to creep into your life. They're going to want to creep into your marriage, your, with your kids and your family, your faith. um so the next thing that I want to mention, so the first thing to look out for is not neglecting our core values. The second thing is isolation. It's lack of support. And this is true. Check this out. I remember when I was, again, going back to my addictions, I always wanted to be alone. I always wanted to be alone. And why? Because I didn't want to be around people. So if you're doing something you're not supposed to, look around. When you're doing those things you're not supposed to, most of the time you're by yourself. Most of the time you disconnect yourself from people. You might be in the garage by yourself, you might be in the room by yourself, you might be by yourself. And that is another key thing. That's a weak area. That's how things come into our life, and that's how things disrupt our life. Those little weak things in our life, when we're by ourselves, when our guard is down, when we think we know what we're doing. So what do? I got this, I don't need nobody. But no, it's when you're by yourself, when you disconnect yourself from your family, your loved ones, the people that are going to check you, the people that are going to tell you the truth to your face. So you say to yourself, you know what, I don't want to be around anybody, I'm going to be by myself. And it's crazy because I remember going back again, my addictions. Man, I wasn't, my alcoholism, it wasn't no more what it wasn't, you know, just drinking with the friends. Now I'm drinking by myself. Now I'm doing things, now I'm getting high by myself. Um, so yeah, check, that's another way of you noticing, you know, if something can come into your life, if something can creep into your life to disrupt or destroy your blessings. Number one is not compromising. Number two is isolation. If you see that you're by yourself, you're secluded, you're by yourself, you isolate yourself, you don't want to be around people, that's a big red flag. That's something that should tell you like, hey, something's not right. So what do? Surround yourself with the people who care, the people that encourage you, and the people that are going to call you out on things. Um, so yeah, when people tell you, hey man, what you're doing is not right, look at that as a blessing, because they're stopping you, they're helping you. Because a lot of the times, we think we know what we're doing, and we're only seeing things through our own understanding, through our own eyes. And obviously, yeah, they're gonna make sense to us. And we're not gonna tell ourselves to stop. We're gonna keep going. But remember, those things affect those things are gonna affect others around you. They're gonna affect your wife, they're gonna affect your kids, they're gonna affect your family, it's gonna affect your faith. So we have to make sure that we do this every single day. The little decisions, the compromising, that if you say to yourself, you know what, I believe in this and we're not going to do this because of this, that you got to stay true to that. You have to stay true to it. And another thing, another way. So basically it's three things of how you can make sure that there's no little cracks in your life. There's no little cracks in your foundation. There's no little blind spots. There's no little weak areas in your life. And that's what we're talking about today. That's what I want to share with you. This is the things that we can notice when something's not right. If something is coming into your life and you're like, hey man, how did this happen? Or why are we going through this? Because there was a crack. There was something in your life that wasn't secure enough, and something crept into your life. Okay. So the third one is ignoring small problems. I'm just looking at my notes here. Small issues become big problems when we leave them unchecked. Uh, we can't be ignoring things. If there's something that happens that at that moment you got to deal with it. It can be a small lie. It can be, again, the smallest thing. You have to check it. You have to pay attention to it. You can't ignore it, because the more you ignore it, the more it's going to grow. The more it's going to grow, the more it's going to affect you. Because again, you have to understand that a lot of the problems, a lot of the challenges that we have in life, they just didn't come from one day to the next. It was us ignoring those things. It was us, uh, um, you know, telling our conscience to be quiet. It was us making excuses or being lazy about it and saying to, I'll deal with it later. Nah, that dealing it with later, now, if you picture something small and you keep putting it off, now when you're ready to deal with it, now it's become this huge thing, this uncontrollable monster. That it's, again, now it's destroying your marriage, now it's destroying your life, it's destroying your kids, it's destroying your faith. So another way is, if we ignore small problems, that's another way for us to allow uh, things to destroy our blessings, because we're ignoring the small issues. So it says, some of my notes, it says, pay attention to small warning signs, even if it's small things like stress or unexplained frustration or behaviors that don't align with your goals. And think about that stress. A lot of the times, oh, I'm stressful because of work, or I'm stressful, and we think it's normal, but it's not, because that stress is going to lead to anger. That anger is going to lead to bitterness. That bitterness is going to drink. It's going to lead to drinking. That drink is going to lead to, and again, why? Because we are going day in and day out without checking those little small issues that we should be checking, that we should be praying about, that we should be talking to our loved ones about, to your wife, to your kids, and all these little small issues. We can't ignore them. We can't put them off till tomorrow. We can't put them off till next week, next month, next year, because they will become monsters. It will become something that it's going to probably take more time to fix. It's going to take a lot more to fix when we could have done something about it in the beginning. So, uh, one of the things that we can do to make sure that there's no cracks, to make sure that there's no blind spots, to make sure that we're walking according to our values, is self-reflection. Um, that's something that I like to do, is always, you know, just check myself. A lot of the times in the afternoon or in the evening when I'm getting ready for bed, I sit there and I think about my day, I contemplate, and when I do that, yeah, I can tell, I can go back in my life, well, that day, and I can say, man, my attitude was wrong. Man, I shouldn't have done this. Man, I shouldn't have done that. So self-reflection, uh, when you practice that, you'll have an eye, you'll have an ear, you'll have a mindset to say, you know what, we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that. uh, I should have done that better, I shouldn't have, so self-reflection is the key to help you to catch those little cracks, to catch those little weaknesses, that again, where things can creep into our life and destroy our blessing and destroy the things that we have. And we have to pause and address. The faster that we deal with things, the better. Okay, the faster that we deal with things, the better. And I know it's not easy. Why? Because you're angry, because you want to be left alone, you don't want to talk about it. But again, remember, if we don't talk about, and see, I'm that kind of person that I got to deal with things right away, man. I just do. I can't, in order for me to have peace throughout my day, in order for me to make sure I'm cool, I got to deal with things right away, because it just doesn't sit right with me, to pretend that something's not going on when it is. And, that just is cool, because the faster I deal with it, the sooner I can get back to my program, the sooner I can get back to the things that I need to do, and the sooner I have peace. And I know where we stand, or what's going to happen, or how are we supposed to deal with things. So ignoring things is not healthy. Putting things off is not healthy. Pretending like these things are just going to solve themselves or not is not healthy. So we got to practice that, practice self-reflection, and we have to pause and address things as soon as possible. Because again, some of the biggest challenges in my life didn't come from one day to the next. It was days and weeks and months of me ignoring something, not dealing with something. And next thing you know, it's a full blown, huge old monster that now I have to find a way to kill. Why? Because it's destroying my life, because it's destroying my marriage, because it's destroying my family. So it's very important. And something else I want to share is it's very important for us to guard our heart. So we have to guard our heart. We gotta guard our faith. We gotta guard our family. You know, if you have a family, if you have kids, it's very important that you do these things. Because we have to be aware. Uh, our kids are a responsibility, so we have to look in their lives to see what little cracks uh, do our kids have. Is it a friend? Is it music? Is it hanging out with certain people? Is it too much time on the phone? You know, when you start seeing these little attitude changes or something that's not right, you gotta take the time and point out, like, okay, why is my son changing? What's going on? Something is creeping into his life that I need to deal with, because if not, this is gonna get out of control. So again, the things, we guard our heart, guard our faith, guard our family, pay attention to what's going on a daily basis, and we have to stay true to our values. You have to stay true to our values. We can't compromise. We can't, just because other people don't agree with them, we can't compromise. You have to do, or you have to focus on what's working for you. What's important to you, and whatever you hold valuable, whatever you cherish, whatever you love and you care for, you can't compromise against it, because as soon as you compromise, trust me, the world, just human nature, there's a lot of things that want to destroy your blessings. There's a lot of things that want to creep in into your life, especially when you think when you're doing good. That's when you have to make sure that there's these cracks in our foundation. We have to patch them up. We have to deal with them so that we can continue to be a blessing, you know, to others, and to be able to enjoy the blessings that we have in our life. Okay, so stay true to yourself, press forward with strength and clarity. So those are some of my notes. I just want to thank you for your time. Your time is very valuable to me. I hope that I was able to share something valuable. I hope that, uh, you know, I want you to react to this content, react to it. Tell me what you think, shoot me a comment, put something there. Uh, Let me know how it makes you feel, because a lot, again, just like when I thought that the house was secure, and I was able to find a way to get into that house, because there was a small little thing that I didn't check. And again, that's in our life. How do things creep into our life? It's those little cracks, it's those little things, the little blind spots that we're not paying attention to, that stuff comes into our life that destroy our blessings. And so I hope that you were encouraged by this message. Thank you for being here. Again, this is my channel is Reach. And remember to reach in, reach out, and reach up. Thank you very much for your time. Be blessed. See you again soon. Thank you.